Jazz Takhar, best in the game. Mamba mentality in his own lane, so better pay attention to what he be saying. Get the message, ain't no question. Welcome to the broadcast, the Jazz Takhar podcast.
Hey, welcome to the Jazz Takhar podcast, episode 250. Yes, you heard it right, 250 episodes. I want to thank each and every one of you who have been along the journey in the last 4.5 years, and for all the new community people into the nation of Jazz Takhar, I want to welcome you. You might just be getting started on this journey. I would love for you to go back 100, 250 episodes, but I know most of you won't, and that's okay. Continue with us for this journey moving forward. Today, I'm going to be speaking about building a real estate portfolio plan, essentially what we call a real estate action plan. Go back a couple of episodes. If you're new, all you got to do is go back a couple of episodes to see me go through fully how to build out a real estate action plan for your clients. But today, what we're going to be speaking about, and I have a co-host, the one and only Mr. Tyler Walburn. How you doing today, brother?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
You heard me say 250, yeah? You heard me say 250, buddy. It's really, really cool, buddy. I mean, 250 episodes for the people that have been watching and listening for the 4.5 years. Again, I said thank you, but I would be, remiss if I didn't thank all the boys and girls that were part of the team that are not here now. They were also part of the journey. Obviously, Bo and Clyde and Alex and Wei and Laura and Tyler, Tilly and Steven and Nikki, these guys that are still here get a lot of flowers now, but I still want to give flowers to the guys and gals that were with us in the past. So, as you guys know, Jazz Takhar Podcast is the #1 sales podcast for real estate professionals learning how to do more deals and building a business around their life, not the other way around. Before I get into the meat of the conversation with my boy Ty, I wanted to also remind you that to get a free 10-minute coaching call with yours truly on anything that's going on in your business, all you got to do is go to ftguacademy.com/call. That's ftguacademy.com/call. You get to pick my brains for 10 minutes at no cost. And at the end of today's episode, I'm actually going to be reaching out to 2 people, and there you have won that coaching call. But Ty, let's get into the meat in the conversation, buddy. We've been helping investors for 20 years at REC Canada, but you've been leading the division, which is the portfolio management division, for the past 10 years. Like, that's big, bro. Like, we're talking about the 250 episodes, but you've been doing it this past decade. And in the last 4 or 5 years, you kind of been building out your own division. You have 3 portfolio managers now. We help people buy, sell, and invest. Again, today's topic is going to be speaking about building out a massive portfolio for your clients as a real estate professional. Why is that important? Because investors are guys and gals that want to do multiple transactions, right? So when you help only buyers and sellers, nothing wrong with it. Continue doing it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Just don't leave all this money on the table by not working with investors, because investors want to purchase and transact 5 to 7 times in a year if they can. Where on the flip side, a home buyer and a home seller probably only turns over in terms of a transaction once every 5 to 7 years, right? And then you pick up on all the peripheral business. But Ty, I want to get into the conversation with you today, buddy. Like, how does one, in terms of a real estate professional, start the process of helping their clients get into investing into real estate?
Yeah, and to preface it, it's also really, I think, the best way to leave impactful relationships and build impactful relationships with your potential clients, and it'll separate you from everyone else.
Well, there's 77,000 in the GTA, the 120,000 in Canada, the 1.5 million real estate agents and loan officers right across North America. I mean, you hit it, right? Like, guys, if you're not working with investors, it is the target market that is the biggest untapped market in our business. Most people don't want to speak to investors because they feel, in my opinion, and please touch on this, Ty, it's because while all the real estate investors are like institutionalized firms, and they're in like ivory towers in downtown whatever city you're listening from. But that's just not true. Real estate investors are just regular Janes and Jims and Johns, you know what I mean, and Marys. People who just want to get out of the rat race. They want to try to find a vehicle to invest into, like they invest into stocks and mutual funds, where they can possibly have some residual income. They can leave some generational wealth. And real estate professionals are just like, they're leaving so much money on the table, not working with investors.
Yeah,
right?
and everyone's an investor.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like
Every potential lease that you're working with, that prospective tenant, their will transition into investing at one point. You just have to start building the foundation and speaking to them about it. And you asked the question of how does someone, a realtor, a mortgage broker, a sales professional, begin this plan building and this mindset shift. And I think it's one, just getting in reps. You just have to reach out and speak to as many people as possible and try to book these one-on-one appointments with them. Very intimate. It's not going to take the whole day to actually have these one-on-one appointments. It's going to take 25 minutes.
These consultations, these real estate action plans, what a lot of people are watching on my social, they're hearing the words of financial checkup from the neck up. You know, I know you've always started probably having like 90-minute consultations at one point, but I think you got it down to what now, 35, 40 minutes or something?
Yeah, and I think it's asking the right questions. It's using different terms in the qualifying conversation you're having anyways, Jazz, right? Which is, for example, if someone is looking to buy a primary residence, you speak to them about that, but you have to ask them why they're looking to purchase real estate. Are they looking to purchase real estate just to have somewhere to live? What are they going to be doing next? You have to have these open-ended, what's next type of questions, which will expand the conversation.
Bo and Clyde, make sure that in the description we put the episode of how to build out a real, like the question, that Ty's mentioning. It's all in the episode where I discussed building out an actual real estate action plan, the questions, like the consultation, that the financial checkup from the neck up, all of it is in that episode. And I think what is also missing in a lot of people in terms of real estate professionals, both agents and mortgage brokers, in their briefcase, in their toolbox, is even understanding some basic investments. And so I thought, why don't we just kind of touch on the 3-4 that we kind of help our clients with? There's a lot more, and there's more robust types of investment in real estate. But I think that's where those more robust types of investments, that's where you start dealing with the institutional firms. The 3-4 that we've been helping our clients with for the last 2 decades, Tyler specifically running the show in the last decade, is these 3. They're more basic. It's a lot easier to get into these types of investments. So I have them down here, Ty. I mean, look, we help people invest into pre-con, which is new build condos and homes. You're buying something before it gets built. We'll go into a little bit further detail. The next one that I have is income properties. We all know those, right? There's 2 doors. You rent out the upstairs, you rent out the downstairs.
We have opportunities. Those types of ones fall in there.
Right? And then you have multiplexes, something that's kind of like 5 doors. You've seen them all over North America. It's a building and it has 5 units or more. There's financing works a little differently on those, and hence why we categorize them a little different. Then there's another one that we help investors do is invest their registered funds. We don't do it ourselves because we're not licensed in our province for this, but we make introductions to firms that have been doing this for decades as well. Let's touch on all, the 3 specific ones, Ty: pre-con, income properties, multiplexes. So why, when you're speaking with one of our REC insiders, our clients, and then for everybody who's watching or listening, I want you to listen to the way that we describe these types of investments, because that's where you're going to get the confidence. That's how it starts, right? Like, you're like, okay, well, I don't even know what to say to the investor. Jazz, I have people who want to invest. I listened to your financial checkup from the neck up. I know exactly what questions to ask, but then how do I go get them this property? What am I actually saying when it comes to income properties, multiplexes, and pre-con? So what, Tyler, we've done the financial checkup with the people now, okay, with our clients. Then how do we start to explain to them that maybe investing into a pre-con is a good investment, income properties, multiplexes?
Yeah. So before I go into the three that we were speaking about, it's important to know that there's two different categories of real estate investments. There's passive investments and active investments. The three that we're going to be speaking about today are active investments. Active investments are properties where you actually have to go and get secure financing, get a mortgage for the property itself. Passive investments are ones that you're just putting your money there and you're letting it work for itself. Very little management, Jazz, and it's one that's a very hands-off type of investment. So put passive on this side for now.
Just before we jump, well, give me one example of a passive investment.
A land development.
Land development deal.
So
Perfect.
you're
'cause
partnering up with a builder, but you're not buying the pre-construction opportunity. Your funds are being used to help push the development to completion.
Okay.
Through advertisement, through pre-construction sales, shovel in the ground, all the way up to completion. And your returns are based off of what the developer is getting on completion.
No dealing with the tenants and toilets in that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so with active investments, the three that we are going to be, the three that we're going to be speaking about is first pre-construction. Pre-construction is the most hands-off of the active investments. If we're talking about investor profile, ones who typically would buy pre-construction,
I like that.
This is actually the widest net of the investor profile. They're the first-time investors. They're the investors that are looking to transition out of managing their portfolio, but they still want their money being worked for them because condos are very hands-off in regards to management, or the least management, anyways. They are investors that don't have all the capital right now, but they're confident that they're able to save it because with pre-construction, you have these incremental deposits.
So what does somebody need, like, and especially for our brothers and sisters in the industry when they're speaking to their clients? And I love the path you went down, brother, in terms of the
Client profile.
Yeah. When they're speaking to somebody, a prospect, and that person has $45,000-$50,000, because you said you're also looking for someone who has the ability to save. I want you to just go slightly deeper there, right? Because they might not have the full down payment. I think that's where you're going.
Yeah. So I would say if I'm speaking with an investor and they have $30,000 or more, then pre-construction does open up in my mind in regards to speaking to them about it.
Because the first payment that the person has to make is about 5%
exactly
of the purchase price. So let's take a $700,000 condo. It's $35,000. And then you're saying that if they have that $35,000 and you find out by asking them, like, are you someone who can save money? Your next payment is going to be your next down payment, or your next deposit is going to be probably in 6 months. Could you save the other 35,000?
That's right.
Okay.
And if they have the confidence or the ability to, then we could talk about these opportunities, right? So with pre-construction, as I said, it is the most hands-off of these active investments. And the main reason, Jazz, is you're not managing the unit. You're not getting a mortgage until the completion of the condo. You're not paying any of these extra expenses like maintenance fees, property taxes. Everything, you're going to start that part of the expenses process or the management process when the condo is completed.
Yeah.
But for the first 4, 5, and with developers that we're seeing now, they're even saying longer, like 7 years for construction.
Like the bigger towers, right? If there's like 700 units, 600 units in them.
So until the condo is completed, it is a very hands-off investment. You're just paying off these incremental deposits. Now, with pre-construction, it's important to know what the advantages there are. And the advantages for pre-construction, first and foremost, is the potential for passive appreciation. For everyone listening that doesn't know what passive appreciation is, that's essentially, without you doing any renovation to the property, how much does the value of the home increase based off of the area that it's in? And with pre-construction, because you don't have to get a mortgage for 4 to 5 years, time is really on your side there in most cases. You have the ability to really grow. You have the ability to have your unit grow in value while the area and the condo is being built up.
And how are you determining, the passive appreciation? You're basing that on last 1 year, 2 years, 8 years, 42 years?
I think you probably can't stretch it for 10 years.
Yeah, I like that. I like what you're going, like the path you're going down, because the 10 years for me And I think more real estate professionals should be speaking to your clients about this. Not that there's anything wrong with buying properties and, renovating them and flipping them for a profit. We don't really speak about that at REC Canada. So and I think that should be some solace for the people who are watching and listening, is that you don't even need to get involved with that. If somebody really wants to do that type of investment, you can refer that business out. It's what we've done. We don't take everyone in terms of being able to help them. Hence why when you're having a real estate action plan discussion with somebody, that financial checkup from the neck up, you're saying to them, we'll show you how we might be able to help. And we emphasize the word might because we can't help everyone. And in terms of the passive, if you look at the 10 years window, you kind of know that in most areas, values double. And if they don't, whatever that number is in 10 years, that's what you speak to your clients about.
Yeah. And so the decade for sure. But I think if someone's asking, where do we get the number of, like, call it, prime markets, 3 to 5% per year compounded growth in value and passive appreciation? I think you got to probably look at it like a 3 to 4 year window of how it's performing that specific micro market. But the conversation does come up, which is because there's a lot of different pre-construction opportunities, a lot of builders, a lot of options for purchasers. What makes a good location? Because Jazz, as you say, you can't pick up the building and move it somewhere else, especially with pre-construction, because your funds are tied there in most cases, until the completion. It is hypercritical to determine the market itself. And what I look at personally are 3 different categories to determine if a market could be a right one to explore for pre-construction. First is transit infrastructure growth. You want to look into a micro market that has plans or already approved building of transit. Transit will always, or values will always follow transit. You want to see municipal, provincial, federal governments putting in money into that micro market, and the majority of time you see that with transit growth. So that's
and when you hear something that's a master plan community, what you're saying, where all this money from all levels of government is going in. If you look back at any of these master plan communities, the insane appreciation that's happened is crazy. Like that's one of the massive benefits of investing into real estate.
And you always see actually that transit is one of the big parts of their plan for the master plan community. Values always follow transit. Try to get in as early as possible to that area that has future plans for transit growth. Second is population growth. You want to get into an area as early as possible that has these massive developments coming in, because there's going to be more population growth in the area. That will help with your passive appreciation potential, as well. That will help with the supply of tenants.
So the rentability
factor.
Yeah.
And then the third one is employment diversity. And that's actually one, Jazz, that we don't hear a lot.
We don't talk a lot about that.
Speaking about it, but it's very important. You want a micro market that has employment diversity that's not just anchored on one industry. And the reason why is that markets that are anchored on one specific industry, they have these really harsh cyclical appreciation, depreciation turns. And we don't want that, especially with pre-construction. We want the up and down upwards trends. And if you look at transit, population growth, and employment diversity, that'll zone you in on a few developers and a few opportunities. And the fourth is try to get into that as early as possible.
So I think even, I hope everyone who's watching and listening caught it, that these factors that you spoke about that help passive appreciation as well as the rentability, that's you can use that right across any of the strategies that we're going to speak about.
Yeah,
right? Like as we move into income properties and you move into multiplexes, at the end of the day, you kind of gave the best high level way to find out where you should invest in terms of area.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Because it's so important. Like, you can't pick up the real estate and move it. There's a reason that condos above a subway, 95% of the underground transit, values appreciate the most there because
right.
they can't make any more, right? Like especially in our city. So you got to obviously look at the city that you help clients with. But I love how you gave the metrics that we use. So let's go into income. Oh, sorry.
So the advantage, right?
Yeah.
So I go advantages, and then for
Yes.
so it's passive appreciation is what you'll be advising
Yep.
your potential clients, or for anyone listening.
And just talking specifically about pre-con.
For pre-construction. Second is because of the extended deposit, the very broken down capital deployment, which is very critical, especially for first-time investors. They're not putting all their money down at once. And then the third advantage there is that you will eventually go and get the mortgage. So you do have those other categories that determine your ROI, like principal pay down, and in the future potential for cash flow with that. Now, things to consider for pre-construction.
And there's always things to consider.
Yeah, well, one is the capital is tied up there until the completion, and that's one of the biggest ones. And then the second one, just to really go quickly with the things to consider with pre-construction, is you will have to get a mortgage eventually. So it's important when you're speaking to a potential investor, because it won't be completed for 5 years, and then there's occupancy. So let's say you're getting a mortgage at year 6. Will you be in a position that you can get that mortgage? And it's very important to speak about that. And once you speak with enough investors and have these conversations, you actually go high level first and say exactly what I just said, and then you go into, just so you know, I've done some research, and here are a few opportunities that do check off.
And that's the transition. That's the transition into a specific project that you might have access to right away. If you don't have access, reach out to us. I mean, specifically if you're looking in the GTA and wherever you really are in the world. Like if you don't have access to these projects, you gotta go into the office that these buildings are being built. They're selling them somewhere. It's not just online. And go introduce yourself, get the floor plans, understand why did this builder spend hundreds of millions of dollars wanting to build this building? Yeah, he obviously just wants to turn profit, but he did it for a reason as well, in terms of there's some selling features there. And so you got to get that information in your hands as quickly as possible.
You said a lot there, though, in regards to the allocation aspect.
Yep.
You hear it a lot with realtors saying, oh, I don't have access to this or access to that. I just don't think they're asking the right questions and speaking to the right people.
Well, I completely agree,
because
right?
you have it.
Especially now, at the time of this recording, we're sitting in late spring 2024, that the builders, they're not selling as fast and quickly as they were 2 years ago. So you have this opportunity that's out there. Go to a builder's office right now. They'll all talk to you. They might even get you some champagne while you're waiting. They're going to try to wine and dine you right now because there's not as many sales happening. But sales are going to start to pick up again. Right? I mean, rates just dropped right across Canada in terms of the Bank of Canada dropping the interest rates. Not a huge amount. I don't think, people's monthly payment changed by about $45 to $50 on average. So it's not like earth shattering by any means. But what it did help with is the consumer confidence. Now the conversations start changing at home, right? People are starting to think, okay, maybe, honey, we're going to start to see more drops in the interest rate, which will bring more people into the market. Then we're going to get into this multiple offer situation. Let's just maybe start to make a possible decision. Yeah. Now, I think there was one other thing that I wanted to add in terms of things to consider with pre-con and new development, new builds, which is the fact that sometimes projects get canceled.
Yes.
Right. And so the deposits that you gave, just know that your client and it's safe. It's tied with a trust account with one of the biggest law firms generally in the countries. And your client will always get their deposit back, but what they did lose on the opportunity cost on that money.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the time loss.
Yeah. Like, there's going to be a little bit of a deposit, interest on the deposit, but nothing really significant. And so
compared to the growth
that it could have been done in one of these other properties, moving into, for example, income property. Yeah. So why do you see, Ty, some of our guys and gals, in terms of our clients, get into income properties that will help our real estate professionals when they're speaking to their clients?
Yeah. So income property, first investor profile. Because you do have to get a mortgage relatively soon after acquisition. In fact, probably usually in 60, 90 days after you sign the agreement of purchase and sale. First, you have to speak with an investor that does have liquid capital or the ability to leverage some of their pre-existing assets to get that capital. They have to have the ability to get the mortgage, so financing capabilities. I would say in the GTA, if an investor has between $80,000 to $120,000 plus, then we could speak about income properties. And income properties are your traditional residential homes, your detached, your bungalows, your duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, as you said, all the way up to 5 doors.
Yep.
And the advantages with income properties, first is the ability potentially to get cash flow.
Yep.
So if you're speaking with an investor who has a primary focus of cash flow, this is a good potential opportunity depending on the area.
And really quickly, because I know we're speaking to a lot of people who are just like got their license last week, and that's not a shot at anyone. They're just learning it. Cash flow is when you take all the revenues that your property brings in, which is mostly made up of the rent that the tenant is paying, but then there's laundry income, there's parking income, all the revenues minus the expenses, which is normally and commonly your mortgage payment, your property tax. If it's a condo, you have condo fees. Sometimes you have utilities, sometimes the tenants pay, but any expense, so all the money that comes in, you subtract all the money that goes out. Whatever is left over is called cash flow.
Yeah, and so the potential for cash flow,
Yeah.
the potential, if you pick the right locations, as we said, the potential for passive appreciation.
Which is generally, would you not agree, Ty? The passive appreciation on one of these income properties, especially when you spoke about the semi-detached, the bungalows, the detaches, is going to be higher than the condos.
Yeah.
Overall, when you compare an apple to an apple in a long period of time, I'm not talking year over year. Real estate is, in my opinion, not something that you can day trade. You can't even look at it on a monthly basis or a yearly basis. I still stick to the 10-year window, but I think, you mentioned 5 years, which I think is great as well. Over a 5-year period, the detached, semi-detached home is going to outpace a condo, even a townhome in terms of passive appreciation.
Yeah, especially with today's average price.
Yep.
And we might have a different conversation if we see average prices at like 1.7, 1.8.
Yep.
But as of right now, that is correct. And I think it's quite obvious it's because of the demand.
Yep.
You just have a significant more buyer's pool.
Yeah.
And that helps the passive appreciation.
Yeah, and I think the window right now between the detach and a condo has widened.
It has.
It
has.
Right.
It
and
has.
so
That's a
and
good
so I
point.
think what's going to happen is we're going to start to see this is just 2 decades of being in the market as helping clients, but also investing myself. You'll start to see a shift soon, really soon. I'm thinking it's going to happen in the next 3 to 4 months, maybe even sooner than that, where you'll start to see the condo sales picking up now again, because the gap, as I said, it's close to $950,000. The average condo and the average home, it's a gap of 900. And it's insane. In fact, it's the highest gap I've ever seen. The highest I've seen before this was about 5 years ago, which was about 700,000. And this is what happened. People cannot afford these detached homes and semi-detached homes, and so they go to the next best thing, which is a condo. It brings you have more buyers in the market of condos, that ups the value. So you'll start to see, there's some fluid, there's some swaying in terms of pricing that happens.
And they're
over
separate
time.
assets, right?
100%.
So they perform differently. That's why you can't put blanket statements.
Yep, I agree.
But the other thing, the other advantages of income properties, especially now that we've reached these higher price disparities, right? The differences is if the lot is big enough, the potential to change the fundamental asset type. And what I mean by that is, let's say you buy a single family home and you have the ability, if the lot is big enough, to add in a accessory dwelling unit in the back or a garden suite.
Laneway homes.
Home. So let's say you get a single family home, a duplex, call it a duplex, and you add in that third unit.
Yeah, and you can also build on top.
You have a lot of potential through the.
What you just can't do with condos.
You can't do that,
right?
But that's an advantage because you're changing the fundamental asset type. So you're changing from a duplex to a triplex or a fourplex. So now your values increase because now you're now at a different asset type.
Yeah.
And that is something that you get with these traditional residential income properties. Now, things to consider is one, you gotta get a mortgage.
Yeah. Right away.
Right away.
Because you got to close on it in 90 to 120, 180 days max kind of thing.
You do have to manage tenants. In most cases, you have to manage groups of tenants.
Yep.
And there is something to speak about to your investors that you have to be okay with this.
Yep.
We can help. And this is something that I think all real estate agents and mortgage brokers should be leveraging is being the connector to your potential client.
The hub, the service providers.
Yeah, you want to make it, you want them to know that whatever comes up, challenges, deficiencies, you let me know and we'll be able to connect you with the right people.
Yeah.
We're the ones having the conversation with these tradespeople, with the right lawyers, with the right paralegals, if there's some tenant problems. And we're the ones that can connect them. And now we are always part of the conversation with our database.
And you become more of
that's
an
important.
advisor, right? We said this earlier when we started. Like, this is not about being a real estate agent. This is about differentiating yourself from being a real estate agent, because there's so many of us, and we both can say this because we're both licensed. And
right.
so the way to differentiate yourself is to bring something different to the market. It's quite simple. You want to bring more value. Your income will always be determined by the value you bring to the marketplace. And one thing that Tyler's talking about, if you're the person that tells your clients, hey, I got everyone for you, like in terms of if there's an issue with a tenant, I have the paralegal lined up. I'll actually even rent it out for you. I'll do some of the checking up on their references and their social medias and all that kind of stuff. Writing up the lease agreement for you. But then when the toilet breaks, I got the plumber for you. When the light fixture needs to be changed, I got the electrician for you, right? And if it's a home and it needs to be landscaped and all that stuff, we have it covered for you. In fact, Mr. and Mrs. Client, do not Google anyone, just reach out to us. When you can say that as a real estate professional, that is actually adding value. It's not just using stupid ass buzzwords. You know what I mean? Like, that's the actual action of adding value, because you're different than everyone else. There's one other thing that I wanted to also add, Tyler, in terms of things to consider when you're looking at an income property. And keep in mind, guys, your job is to give your clients the information, right? Use exactly what Tyler said. Mr. and Mrs. Client, here's all the pros in investing in this type of strategy. Here's all the things that you want to consider when investing into this type of strategy. You choose. Why? Because it's not your money. For you to tell somebody that they have to do this or do it like this, you're going to get yourself in trouble, and you're going to sound like a salesperson. Just give people all the information up front so they can make a quality, informed decision. What I quickly want to touch on in terms of when you're getting an income property that's slightly different than when you're investing into a pre-con, and I think you might have mentioned it, so if you did, just let me know, is the fact that you're going to be possibly dealing with multiple tenants.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
did mention this? Okay.
Yeah, but it's true though. The active management's a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with turbulence there.
Yeah.
I tell people, if you don't sleep easy at night because you're worried about your tenant damaging the property and then you're putting money into it to repair it, that's not the investment for you.
Yeah.
I can find one that's more hands-off. We can go into those passive ones that we spoke about before. And you spoke about the providing value. And what I think a misconception or maybe a bias that I hear realtors have is that they think providing value is getting people to showings and finding that home. That's your job. You just did your job.
I like that. Yeah.
Value.
And sorry, and really quickly, because you fucking got me on a pet peeve of mine. The fact that you can tell somebody that this has granite countertops or there's like, here's the washroom. Come on. Like, I don't even know if that's your job. Like, that's what robots is actually going to do. So people who are afraid of AI taking over or robots taking our job, that's the part that robots can do. And some of the financial stuff even that we're speaking about, building out performance for people, that's something that AI can do. The one thing AI cannot do is build the actual relationship.
And confirm what they feel like is correct. That's something that AI will never be able to do.
Yeah.
That human aspect. Sidebar, if we can create a piece of tech that will, that's AI that will actually go and say, this is when it was installed,
Yeah.
or this is what the countertops are, or here's the brand. Like if it just pops up with some vision,
Oh, so you're talking-
that's a game
that's
changer
pretty
for
cool.
showings,
That's
like an
pretty cool.
experience.
Yeah,
creating an
yeah.
experience.
And we don't even have to leave the house, maybe.
Oh, true.
That's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
But you did your job there as a realtor when you go and show them that property, and you're compensated for it. What we need to do to build these impactful relationships and make a difference in people's lives is to do the in-between work that no one sees. It's give your best stuff out for free. It's the helping them with their problems with the concierge division. It's, giving them these very tailored plans.
Yep.
And it's just helping them see through the fog.
Yeah.
And that is how you're going to be able to elevate your
And you're going to do
business.
that by just asking questions, right? Like if you know somebody who's a
it's
doc,
this, yeah,
and I
yeah.
touched on this in the financial checkup from the Neck Up episode a couple of episodes ago, where I said, look, if you have a doctor who's working, 15 hours a day, telling them about an investment property that is going to take a lot of hands-on, it's going to be very hands-on is probably not a good idea, right? Like you want to get them into something that's a little bit more passive. Let's go to the next strategy, which is multiplexes. Essentially here, it's, again, as I mentioned, it's 5 units and more. And the reason we separate it is because the financing is different.
Correct.
The financing actually works in the borrower's advantage because it's not on your client's personal profile in terms of how much financing they can get, how much can they leverage, how much of a mortgage can they get from the bank. It's based on how the property performs. And so this is really, and I think you'll agree, Ty, but please, correct me if I'm wrong. The client profile for a multiplex is someone who's now like already invested in maybe in some pre-con. They've invested into some income properties, and now they want to kind of diversify. They've worked their way up the ladder.
Or they're at the point where they're divesting their residential investments. They're using the funds now to get that generational property.
Yep. Yeah.
And multifamily, the typical investor profile you already said is someone who is a little bit more savvy. They're experienced with managing properties in most cases. As well, they have capital, right? The financing advantages are there, but the things that, the reality is that you
Still
have
need
to-
a down payment.
You got to put 30%, 35% down
Yep.
at a higher purchase price.
Yep.
And a lot of these multifamily purchases, unless you're in like tertiary markets,
Yep.
they're done together with people as well.
So like joint ventures.
Yeah, so you're also dealing with a few investors at the same time
Yep.
going together. The advantages with multifamily opportunities is the potential for cash flow, and you hear that a lot, that investors want cash flow, so they're looking at Timbuktu for multiplexes for the cash flow aspect. You have the ability through grandfathered in tenants leaving and renovating, you have the ability to increase the value of the home while you get tenant turnover. And most of the properties that you do see that's on the market are very seldom brand new.
Yeah.
In fact, the
Well,
majority
you
of
just
time-
don't see a lot of new multiplexes being built. Right?
because
It's
of
in
high-rise
the old-
development.
Yeah. You'll find them in older areas, but the advantage, in my opinion, in that is based on what we were talking about earlier, is that it's close by transit, though.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Right. So you
100%.
see multiplexes are generally very, very close to transit, which is also closer to other amenities, i.e. grocery shopping and people's jobs and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. And another advantage there, as you touched on, which is the financing capabilities. Through CMHC insured mortgages, there's some fantastic programs for investors looking to get into multifamily. Like we're talking, once the scoring system is correct, we're talking 95% loan to value in some cases, so you get some money back. We're talking 50-year amortization periods, so your actual monthly expenses are less.
Yep.
And that makes sense on the 50-year for multi-residential and commercial, because these are typically homes that the family doesn't want to sell.
Yes.
Right? So they're going to hold it for a long period anyway, so the 50-year amortization makes sense there. Things to consider, though, if you think residential has active management challenges, multifamily is incredible, right?
Yeah.
There's so much there. The grandfathered in tenants is something you have to consider as well. Grandfathered in tenants are tenants that have been there, for 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years sometimes, and they are paying significantly, in most cases, under market value for rent. And there are ways that you can help the tenant turnover or help, bring some cash flow into your investment there. But the reality is that that is something that you have to consider, the management there of it. As well, the things to consider is the upfront cost of repair. And that's not something that you hear. Well, you hear it, but that's not something that a lot of people speak about as well.
They don't budget for it.
They don't budget. Like when a furnace goes out or a heating system goes out in a multifamily opportunity, what was that, 300 grand?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, depending on how big it is, for sure.
Right. It's a big cost.
Yep.
When the roof has structural damage, that is a lot of capital.
Especially if it's like a flat roof too, because those things are expensive. I mean, I personally love helping people with multiplexes and seeing them invest into it. I'm actively looking for one. I'm looking for something like about 10 doors and above, just in the area that I'm in and that I'm looking in. I feel comfortable with the purchase price as well as handling the tenants. I mean, I'm obviously going to get a property manager involved, and keep in mind, you as a real estate professional, when you're speaking to your clients, make sure whatever local market that you work in or you help your client with, even if it's outside of where you live and work, because that comes up with investors a lot, partner up with a property manager, because that doctor example that I used, he or she, they might be working 16 hours a day, and they still want to invest into something that is active. They just don't want to be the person to do it. And so if you have someone ready and offering, and here's a very magical word that you can say to your clients, as long as you do it, which is, we offer a turnkey process. You buy it with us, we set you up with everyone in and around the transaction, and then we'll help you rent it out. Because most investors, and this is kind of the rubber hitting the road now, where most investors, especially the regular Marys and Johns and Janes, they just want someone else to take care of the headache when it comes around tenants and toilets. They understand the benefits of investing into real estate. They just want somebody to take care of it for them. And that's the opportunity. And so I always like to wrap up kind of conversations around investing into real estate with letting my clients understand and reminding them the 3 benefits of investing into real estate. Number 1 is the passive appreciation, because the values are going to go up over time. We know this. Look at any market in any part of the world. Over time, values go up. Yes, there's a dip, but they go up over time. The second benefit is that you have someone else paying down the mortgage. Like, you have someone else who's going to pay down your monthly cost for that property. That person is called a tenant. Third benefit is the fact that you actually have someone who's going to pay you, give you money. They're going to give you money for the property, meaning that if you're buying an $800,000 property, in most places, you're going to come up with $120,000. I apologize, 20%, which is $160,000. But the rest of it, there's these people called the banks, they give you all of it. So the beautiful word, which is called leverage, or using other people's money. And then I'll give you a bonus benefit, which is something I say to clients all the time. You're going to have cash flow. Yeah, sometimes when interest rates go up, and kind of at the time of this recording, we've been going through that, you have the difference of those revenues and those expenses, and there's a surplus. And that is called cash flow. Tai, I got to jump on a couple of coaching calls, but what did you want to close off with, if anything, for our real estate professionals in helping them build out investment portfolios for their clients?
Yeah. So, and again, thanks for having me, Jazz. Episode 250. That's amazing. The reality is that you're not going to bat 100 or 1,000, sorry, when it comes to having these conversations with your prospective clients, your database. Do not come off as someone who's trying to force the transaction. Do what we did here. Say what we said here, which is go through the options and let them tell you which ones are best for them. And then you just talk about the advantages, the things to consider, the process. You're not here to convince. We are here to sort as investment advisors.
I love that, brother. Say that again, please.
We are not here to convince. We are here to sort as investment advisors. We ask the right questions. We try to help them guide through the process of what's right and what might not be right based off of their goals, based off of their capital, based off of their financing constraints sometimes, or personal constraints. And we offer them opportunities. And even then, you're not going to be able to have that person specifically sometimes purchase right now.
Yeah.
But a no is
Planted a seed.
Yeah, we planted the seed, and we've done more than 99% of realtors.
Yes.
Is that we have taken it more of a holistic or an aerial approach to building plans, and we want to be the connectors, and we want to be the people that our potential investors think about when they are considering anything in real estate.
Love you, my man. Thank you so much for this time, and thank you for your time. If you found this episode valuable, do me a favor, send it to one friend, family member, or colleague. I'm going to jump into the coaching call. Let's call our first person. Boys, I guess I need this headset. Let's make this first call to Mr. G. Literally, that's the name that I have on my paper here. All right.
Hello.
Mr. G? Mr. G?
Jazz, I cannot hear you fully. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear?
That's me. That's me. How are you, Jazz?
I'm amazing. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate you wanting to do a coaching call here live on Jazz Takhar podcast. What's your question, my man?
Yeah. Jazz, I was reaching out to you to see what I know I was at the Leaders Group webinar last month, not webinar, a seminar when you spoke at Signature. My main thing was just to what would be your top 3 tips to do when you cold call people?
Now, are you cold calling a list that you bought? Like, where'd you get these names and numbers from?
So I have a CRM system, Jazz, that runs Google Ads for me.
Okay.
And then I get generated through that.
Okay, so you're generating leads with somebody who clicked a Google ad or a Facebook lead?
More of a Google ad. So I have a campaign that runs on Google.
Yeah.
So if, let's say you search for condos in Toronto, and then my page shows up, you click on it, and it makes people register for that.
Perfect. So just walk me down this process just so I get more context. Joe Blow clicks on it, puts his name, phone number, email. What happens next?
They browse around the properties, but I do get a notification that there's a lead that has been generated. Mm-hmm. And now I have the ball is on my court. Now I have to make those calls. I have to make sure that I can bring those people for buyer consultation to start with, and then make sure that I help out with the transaction.
Perfect. But now, what happens once you get that notification? So tell me, like, reality, what you've been doing for the last 10, 20 people.
So for me, so sometimes I am not able to call them right away, and sometimes I'm calling them like 1 or 2 days later as well. But more than that, the biggest is I've closed a few deals. It's not like I've not closed any of those through online lead gen, but my main is sometimes I'm stuck in a conversation where I don't know what to say next.
Okay, perfect. So let me stop you there. So what's happening is, first things first, are they getting a text message the second that they inquire for a lead? They do get a text message. What is that text message saying?
First, it's just a welcome message that, hey, this is our website. Feel free to browse around. It's a custom. It's just a template that was built by the CRM system.
So you're obviously open to the coaching, hence why you're doing the coaching call. So here's the first step that I would change. Okay, I want that text message to say, "Thanks, Joe. This is Mr. G. When's good for you to get on a 3-minute call? Today at 11 or tomorrow at 3 p.m. Okay, because you want to get as quickly as possible with the person on the phone, which kind of brings me to my second tip for you. If you're waiting 2-3 days, it's too long to reach out to them, because you know what? This person, let's call them Joe, who went onto your website or went and clicked the Google AdWord. They've probably done that to another 77 sites.
Right.
Okay. And so you have to find a way, a system, i.e. your text messaging, right? Your text messaging, but change it. Make it more personal, not so businessy. Like, I think the problem with your text message, in my opinion, Mr. G, is the fact that it's like, thanks for coming to our website. It's too businessy, right? So you want to try to build rapport as quickly as possible. And the way to do that is, thanks, Joe. It's Mr. G. Let me know when we can hop on a quick call for 3 minutes. Today at 11, tomorrow at 3. That's number one. Number two is, once that text message gets sent, if you don't hear back within about a couple of hours, like 2 hours max, I would reach out to that person, call them. Hey, Joe. Like and don't start that call with, is this Joe? Because that's not how you build rapport. You build rapport by saying something that a friend would say, which is, hey, Joe, it's Mr. G calling. I know you, I sent you a text message, but I didn't hear anything back. Listen, I just wanted to sit down with you because a lot of people that have been reaching out through my site are asking about what's going on with just like interest rates. And so we have a sexy word for it. It's called a real estate action plan. When's usually good, and like essentially what it is it's a financial checkup from the neck up. I'm on the road right now. I can't do this with you. When's usually good for you, during the days or the afternoons? Okay. And the reason I'm saying that, Mr. G, is because it doesn't matter to me what condo that they inquired about. It doesn't matter to me which house they inquired about. 99.99999% of the time, in fact, I would say in 20 years for me, 100% of the time, okay, the person that inquired about the house or walked into my open house, they never bought that property.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So even when somebody, like if somebody who inquired about XYZ condos, they ended up buying ABC condos. And so what I want to try to portray to the person on the other line is, I'm not the same as all the other 77,000 agents, but I'm not going to say that. I need to show it to them.
Yeah.
And the way that you show it is in what you say. Meaning, when you say something along the lines of like, what a lot of my community is doing is reaching out and wanting to find out what's going on with the interest rates, we do this sexy, we have a sexy word for it, and then you go into that script. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I got one last tip for you, okay? My last tip for you is that, and it's going to be posed as a question. What are you doing with the names and numbers that are in your phone already?
So as of right now, Jazz, I have a monthly market that gets sent to everyone so that I'm in their head.
Yeah.
And then the thing that I've just recently started is the pre-con of the month campaign.
Got it.
Where I'm pulling out one of the projects and then making sure like it's the one with the best incentives and everything, and I template it and send it out to all my clients.
Okay.
Those are the.
And how often do you call those people?
So calling, I definitely am more in touch with the newer ones, but have not been super proactive on the older ones.
So here's what I would strongly suggest, okay? You know how I said that the person who calls in about XYZ condos usually buys ABC condos? Your question was based around the cold leads. Let's worry about the cold leads later, because all the money that you're really looking for is in the people that already know you and like you. See, the reason you're having a tougher time with Sally Pants _32 who inquired on Google AdWords is because she doesn't know you. She doesn't obviously like you. There's no possible way she trusts you. But the people in your phone already, they know you. They probably like you. We only got one more step. We just got to get them to trust you.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? But the reason, and I know this, Mr. G, like with the hundreds upon hundreds of agents that I've been coaching for the last, year and a half or so, it's all the same. It all comes down to one thing. You don't want to call the people that are already in your phone, because when they don't work with you, it hurts a little bit more. Or when you have to make that outbound call to your cousin, it's like, it almost feels like you look needy.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I got to call my cousin. He's going to know that I'm not making money right now. Or why am I reaching out to him?
Right.
We got to get past that. We're not in high school anymore. right? And so now if we're looking for if we're looking to building a business, we got to do things that 99% of people don't do to become the top 1%.
Right.
And that before the cold, so in 20 years, I've spent $20,000 in cold lead development.
Wow.
Let me just say that again. In 20 years, I've spent $20,000 in total in cold lead development. Why? Because I haven't even got through my warm leads yet.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I mean?
Right.
I'm not like, why am I going to be building a home on a swampy foundation?
Mm-hmm.
All my
Makes sense.
90% of my deals happen with people who are already in my database. The other 10 is because Joe in my database introduced me to Mary.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to spend a lot more. We got to spend all of our time at the start with those people first. Then we add the cold people.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
All
Makes
right.
sense.
I hope it was valuable. Thank you. Thank you for doing the coaching call, man.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Take care. Keep watching.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Got one more call that we got to go outbound to. If you want to get a free coaching call on the Jazz Takhar podcast, all you got to do is go to ftguacademy.com/call. Right, let's reach out to our next winner. It's a free 10-minute coaching call with yours truly, but you do got to go to ftguacademy.com/call, and my team selects a couple of winners every single episode. Is this Athavan?
Yes, speaking.
Athavan, Jazz Takhar calling. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Dad?
I'm amazing, man. Just living the dream.
That's great. I had a meeting about 11:30. I was about to get in there. I'm like, okay, I don't have lucky today to speak to you, but I feel so happy to join in this now.
Oh, yeah, appreciate it, buddy. What's your question? Let me try to better your business, buddy.
Thank you. I have two questions. One is like, I'm an immigrant here. I just came here 10 years ago. One of the biggest challenge, as I'm sure there are a lot of people who might be listening to this have the same issue. When I came here, I don't have anybody. I mean, I don't know anyone. So the business, when I started here, I worked along the way like you. I have sales background. When I was listening to your story this morning, how you came to real estate, same thing that I was working in the Rogers, and then I had the sales background, but I'm not that great in English. I can speak now, but sometimes I'm not that great. So sometimes I feel really nervous to speak to people, but I feel like I can do much better if I break the fear of approaching people. So, I mean, anyone who's listening may have the same issues, like as a new immigrant who come to the country and like choosing real estate as a career. How do you suggest for us to find more connections? I mean, I don't know anybody here. I'm zero.
100. So saying, hang on. How long did you work at Rogers though?
I worked around just 2 years.
Okay.
Corporate,
So and where was that? Like physically, were you, or was that
business? Rogers commercial side, sales.
okay in sales? And just so I know, was that in like a physical location, or were you working from home?
No, I was working in a physical location.
You're working in a physical location. Okay. So number one thing I just want to address right away at the event. Sometimes we make up things in our own head because we think people are thinking that about us. You know, if you're taking a shower or you're driving, you're like, oh my God, you have these conversations with people that never really happened. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'll explain. Okay. Here's what I mean by that. Everyone who's watching this right now, I have a funny feeling they're going to say, this guy's English is pretty good. I'm born and raised here. I think your fucking English is better than mine. You just have a little bit of an accent at the end. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Your English is really, really good. So I would put that to the side now. Like, forget it. I never want you to think about it again. Because whatever you think about, whatever your brain will think about, it brings about. And so if you continuously feed yourself that you don't know English well, then you're going to find all the reasons, and then you're going to stop yourself from doing things because you're going to be like, shoot, I don't want to introduce myself because they're going to laugh at me, or they're going to say, what the hell are you saying? We got to get past that. You think that your English is not strong anymore. You've already showcased it by accepting a call like this and now being broadcasted on YouTube. Like, everyone's going to hear this, and a lot of people are going to see this. And so that is the second part of what I wanted to kind of help you and coach you on, which is understanding that you just got to put yourself out there a little bit more, and you did that today. Even being fearful, you still did it. You still said, you know what, I'm going to put myself out there. Now, in terms of meeting more people, first things first, how many people do you think you worked with at Rogers that you had some type of conversation with? That you might have let me ask it a different way, actually. How many people did you work at Rogers with that you still have their name and phone number?
Say around about 25 to 50.
Okay, that's a good number. Okay, now, first things first, what we're going to do is call it 40 people. I'm just going to kind of split the difference, okay? 40 people, I need you to call them all. Now, this is all going to work in a holistic fashion, okay? And you'll understand what I mean. I'm going to bring it all together for you. First things first, let's have a conversation with these 40 people, and let's see who still might be interested in staying in touch with you. What I mean by the holistic approach, while you're making these phone calls, you're going to start to build the confidence of reaching out to people. Here's the exact thing you're going to say to everybody you worked with. Okay? You're going to call them and say, Tyler, person I worked with at Rogers, it's Athavan. Remember? I'm not like, do you remember who I am? Yeah. I used to sit around the kitchen area there. Great. Listen, I wanted to reach out to you, Tyler, to see if you're comfortable with giving me your opinion on some of the marketing I'm going to be doing. And that's going to be coming through emails, social media, and some events that I put on. I just wanted to know if you're okay to give me the opinion. That's it. So now, Athavan, I'm going to tell you, I've been coaching people, and at least 50,000 of those calls, we call those permission-based calls. 50,000 of those have been made in and around me in the last 5 years. Okay, 100% of the time, if the agent who made that phone call to get permission, if the person on the other line stayed on the phone, they all said yes. Okay? That's a big sample size I'm giving you. The only time that it didn't work is if the agent called the person and they said, don't ever call me again. That might happen. Okay? I have a funny feeling the people that you worked at Rogers, if you still have their phone number, then chances are you had some type of connection with them. We now just need to get the permission to stay in touch. Now, I do not want you to say to them on that call, hey, oh, by the way, do you know anybody who's thinking about buying, selling real estate? Because that's so salesy. And what is the chances that the stars are going to align that time that you make that phone call and someone's going to say, yeah, I actually know someone? They're very low. And so I would rather you take the other route, which is, hey, I just want to get your opinion. Now, these 40 people, we have a base. We have a base to put into a CRM. That's number one. Okay. Number two, how long have you been licensed for?
6 years now.
6 years. Okay. How many transactions have you done in the past 6 years? If you don't mind me sharing, give me an approximate and I'm okay with that.
Approximately 15 to 20 per year.
You've done 15. And where did these come from?
These are all from my door knocks and stuff.
Okay, perfect. And when you were door knocking, were you mute? Like you didn't say anything? Or were you on mute and didn't say anything? Like how did you door knock and get comfortable speaking to people?
No, I mean, that's always, what my thought was like, you can do more. I really want to do 40 plus. Okay. But I always feel like I kind of something is putting me behind, not looking that.
I got it. So these 20, quick math to me is about 120 deals you've done in 6 years.
Right, yes.
Call it 100 for argument's sake.
Yeah, 100, yeah.
Where are all these names and numbers?
Not all of them are from the nuts, and some are from my the people who I work with. Some who referred, and then luckily I started with.
Where are they right now? Like if I needed to see the list of 100 names,
I have it in my MLS. In my CRM.
What CRM do you use?
follow bus.
Okay, perfect. And do you send emails every
Yes,
single?
I do.
How often?
Yeah. Every month, like every month.
Okay, so we need to up that.
Okay.
Okay, more is more. I need you to send out an email every other week.
Okay.
Okay, and have you put on any educational event?
Yes, I did
Which one?
a seminar
Okay, when?
in March.
And what type of seminar was that?
It's like real estate mastering, improving real estate. I forgot. It's just about educating people.
Got it. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I need you to do another one in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. I want you to sit down with a mortgage broker. Do you have a mortgage broker that you do business with that would be comfortable just having a conversation with you in front of, 20, 30 people, just a little fireside chat, I call it?
Yeah.
Okay. So in 3 weeks, book it. Where, can you do it in your office?
Yes, I can do it in my office. Yeah.
You can actually do it in your office. Like you have space for 20, 30 people.
Yes,
Okay. Awesome. So here's what I want you to do. Are you ready to actually do this?
I am.
Okay, perfect. So when you get off the phone with me, I want you to call your office, book the space for 3 weeks. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Then call the mortgage broker. You book the space first. Call the mortgage broker and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this. I just wanted to know if you're good. Because if you're not, I got to find someone else. Say it exactly the way that I just said it, because that mortgage broker is going to be worried that you're going to go with someone else. Say, hey, man, I really want to do this more event with you. I just need to know if you're down, because I've already booked the appointment. I don't know if you know Jazz Takhar. He made me do this on the spot. So just so you know, people are watching and listening to this. So we're all going to find out if you did this or not.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
I also wanted to tell you that how I got these transactions. Maybe anyone who's listening.
Yeah.
Like I started with like leases. So all the leases I worked very patiently, and then like over the time I worked with one lease. I bought and sell 3 times now within the 6 years,
Love
and
it.
they eventually grown. I mean, they didn't go down. Yeah.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so you understand. You plant seeds and you give it some water. You give it some time. You understand all that. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
One last important question I need to ask you.
No, hang on. I haven't finished yet. No. Don't worry about the important question, because I'm putting you on the spot. But I'm gonna reward you if you do this.
Yeah.
Okay. If you do this event, so let me give you the quick steps first, which is I need you to book it with your office. Call the mortgage broker. Send an email to everyone that you know. That is, are you in Ontario?
Yes, I am.
Great. In Toronto, GTA?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Send an email to everyone saying that you have an event and you're going to be speaking about what all these interest rate changes mean. That's your subject of the email.
Okay.
That's the subject of the event too.
Okay.
Then I want you to call everybody and tell them. Pick either Thursday night or Saturday morning. I don't care which one. Okay? And then you're going to call everybody and get them to the event. If it's Thursday night or Saturday morning, just get muffins, donuts, and some coffee and tea from Tim Hortons. Spend $150, nothing more than that. I've done 682 of these and counting, okay? So I kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. Okay?
Right. No doubt. Yeah.
Got it? Now,
Yep.
if you do that and take a picture of that event in 3 weeks, I'm going to let you come to my office for 3 hours and watch my team and my coaching clients make phone calls to book appointments to do deals. I'm going to give you a free ticket to come watch it happen live.
Okay, let's do this.
Don't fuck around.
No,
Okay.
I'll do it.
Okay. You take a picture of it and I see bums in the seat, not AI'd, real bums in the seats. I'm going to let you in my office for 3 hours and you're going to watch my whole operation and you're going to hear people doing deals and you're going to hear more scripts.
Amazing.
Fair? You had one more question. Shoot it at me and I'm going to rapid fire it at me quickly.
Right. So the main question is the biggest challenge that I face. First of all, I said that. The second challenge that as a single person who's working, it's about the as a realtor. I don't know. This is something that always bugging me. Like I stuck on one deal. For example, that if I'm dealing with one closing issue, my space has been maybe it's not. I'm not delegating the time or something, but I'm very emotional. When my buyers not be able to close it, they need to walk away from a deal. It's not old. This is one of the unique in 6 years that I'm facing. I never had this issue, but mostly that I want to go, like, I want to show and I want to buy or I want to sell. I want to move to next. But sometimes I got stuck in one deal that's taking my 2
That's
3
okay.
months into.
You're being, you're caring about your clients. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
Don't overthink it. So you
Right.
care, like, so you're like, look, can you get help? Like, can you get an assistant? Can you get a virtual assistant? Those are certain things that you can do. But when a client deal doesn't close, you need to try to fix it and try to
Right.
make it happen. But how many times does that really happen in a year? Not that much.
Right.
And so what I'm trying to tell you is that don't judge yourself so hard. It's okay to care for your client. There's nothing wrong with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Agatha, do me a favor. Send me that
Yeah.
picture in 3 weeks.
You will get it.
Okay. Take care, buddy.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Take care. Bye.
All right. If you want to get your questions answered directly by yours truly, all you got to do is go to ftguacademy.com/call. We went a little over, but I have a lot of fun if I can get people on the phone and try to coach them through this. All you got to do is go to ftguacademy.com/call for a 10-minute free coaching call with me. As I said earlier, if this episode was valuable, do me a favor, share it with one friend, colleague, or family member. Have an awesome, kick-ass week. If you found this episode valuable of the Jazz Takhar podcast, you might want to check out other episodes of mine right here. If you're a real estate professional and you want to get on a live coaching call with yours truly on the Jazz Takhar podcast, where you get to pick my brains on anything that's going on in your business, click the link here.